It's Thursday, February 12th, and I wanted to talk about two things. The first is a house in our neighborhood that just was sold. It just closed escrow yesterday. So, one of the things I'm learning about this big move is that when you're selling a house, figuring out the price is really important. And you do that in a couple ways. One of the best ways is to see what comparable houses in your community have sold for. Now, it's kind of hard because every house is different, right? Some houses have an extra bedroom or an upgraded bathroom or a little bigger kitchen or, a different backyard or, so it's never apples to apples. It's always kind of a little squishy. We have two houses in our neighborhood that have been up for sale. In fact, the house that sold was up for sale originally last year. It was on the market for 7 months before it finally sold. Now, it was on the market and then they took it off the market. Then they got a different realtor. I think the people moved out and then they finally got it sold. I think it went back on the market in probably December or early January, went back on the market. My realtor sent this to me and it showed me basically what the house looked like, what the house was sold for. One of the things you're looking for in a comp is to figure out the price per square foot. I got to see what that was on this house. And then I got to see what the house looked like. So let me show you some pictures of what this house looked like and talk a little bit about how it's similar to my house and also how it's different from my house. So it starts off with some beautiful pictures of the outside of the house. And they did a great job taking these pictures. If you just walked by this house, it would not look this good. It's got an addition. I think every house in this little neighborhood has an addition. And their addition they put was on the front of the house by the garage, or I think they must have redone where they put the garage. So they obviously did a beautiful job on this picture. Sky looks beautiful, lighting's beautiful. And then you get to see some of the backyard. Their lot is much larger than our lot. And one of the reasons for that is they have an openness to the canyon below. So you can see that in this picture. You can also see in this picture, this aerial view, that they're closer to one of the main roads. So right above them is a main road, so it would be much noisier. But the other reason their property is so much bigger outside is they have stables. So this is a horse neighborhood, and there are people who have horses. Not a lot, but we are zoned for it, and they have a beautiful area for horses. Then once you get in the house, you see that this is the addition. And you could tell this is the addition because it looks different than the rest of the house. These houses were all built in the 1950s, and this house looks like it did the addition in the 1960s. It has very much a mid-century modern look to it. And then you get to see the part of the house that's the original part. So this is the kind of the kitchen, dining room, living room area. And this is somewhat similar to my house. It's laid out differently, but there's some similarities. I think they have a galley kitchen. We have a galley kitchen. They've done some updates. Our updates are different, I think, but similar enough. And this space looks smaller than our space. Certainly is smaller because we have a baby grand piano in our space. But similar enough, same kind of hardwood floors, which were the original. Ours are a little different now, but those were the original floors. And then you get to see the bedrooms and the bathrooms. And then you finally see the floor plan of the house. So how close is this to my house? It's not, but it is because it's in the same neighborhood. So I don't know what this means, if that's the same kind of price we'll get, or If because we have a pool, we'll do better. I reached out to the realtor and just kind of asked, tell me how you'd assess that house to this house. And she said, their property's bigger, their house is smaller, you have different additions, you have a pool, which can be a real plus for some buyers. And your garden's different, your setup's different. We think you could do a little better on the price, but this is what they got per square foot, so it's a good starting place. So I think that was super helpful. I found her comments really helpful because the pricing seems to be the big issue right now in the market. Some houses are just really sitting. This market, the days per market has gone up quite a bit. I think originally it was like 40 days a house sat on the market till it was sold. Today, it's more like 70 days. So it's a lot longer right now. And knowing that is one of the reasons for that is the price thing. So a lot of people are having trouble pricing houses. Things have gone up and down. Zillow's gone up and down. Realtor.com has gone up and down. I had one week where I looked on Realtor.com and the price of this house had gone down like $200,000. And then like 3 weeks later, it was back up. So I don't understand any of that and why that happens. I don't know if it's just a crazy algorithm or what. I can imagine some of it relates to the fact that 3 houses down, we have a flip. And it is a mess. And the problem for us is, even though it's not a comp, because it's 3 houses down, it kind of is a comp. So the fact that this is a house that has, I think they have less bedrooms and bathrooms than we do. Their landscaping is atrocious. The flip was done really poorly. At least that's what people say. So I don't know how that affects things. I think it affects how any price in this community would be looked at just because of that. So it's important to have all the information and the details. So that's the first thing. Second thing I want to talk about is a book that I read and that my husband just finished reading yesterday. And it's called The Midnight Library. And The Midnight Library is a great book to read if you're going through a bunch of huge changes. If you're looking at your choices and trying to think about them. I found it really helpful. I actually bought it around my birthday last year because someone said it's a great book to read around your birthday. It's also a great book for the first of the year. It's also a great book when you're thinking about big changes. So it's basically the story of a young woman who feels really despondent about the choices she's made. And she ends up going to a midnight library, and the shelves are full of books that are her alternative lives. So she was a singer, and what if she had pursued that? This is what would have happened. She was dating this guy and broke it off. What would have happened if she'd married him and they'd moved to England and opened their pub? And so it's all the different lives, and all the different lives are related to this other book in the library called the Book of Regrets. And it's all the things she regrets, the paths she didn't take, the things she thinks she's done wrong. And what I liked about the book was it just helped me think more about the choices we make and how huge they are in our life. I think about a small thing I did that had huge ramifications for my life. When my son was in high school, we were in the kitchen, we were talking, and he said, I know you wouldn't let me leave California to go to college. And I was like, leave California, throw your net wide, baby. This is your life. Do what you want. And so he did. And that was 2012. And he has not really been back since. So, he went to school in Boston. He did his master's in Boston. He went to medical school in New York. He did his residency in San Jose. And then he is now in Chicago, where he has a job. Now, if I could go back, would I make a different choice? Yeah, for sure. I would say, yeah, baby, you're right. Stay here in California. Not really. I mean, it's his life. He's got to live it. But I think of another choice where I was finishing up working for the larger United Methodist Church. I'd kind of reached the end of my ability to uh, do that. And I was at a meeting and I was sitting next to a district superintendent who was dealing with the church. And I asked him about the church. And the pastor who was there, I didn't know if he was going back. And I was just asking him. And I just said in the course of the conversation, I just love that church. That's a really great church. And he looked at me and he said, well, that's very helpful, Nicole. Thank you for letting me know that. And immediately I thought to myself, I just opened a door that I did not want to open. And in fact, I remember the moment so well. I got up, I went into the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror and had a little moment with myself and said, what are you doing? I was already registered to go back and work on my master's in religious studies. And I thought, I don't know what's next, but I know it's not doing this stuff. And I ended up going to that church. Now I'm really glad I did. It was a little thing I said that had huge ramifications. I mean, that was 2017, 2018, 2018. So I was there during COVID, all the things. And, it was a little thing that opened a door to a whole nother thing. So I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about the Midnight Library. I'm thinking about regrets. I'm thinking about choices. And I'm thinking about being aware of all the different choices I'm making and how they're leading me down different paths. I have a tendency to just kind of settle sometimes, to just feel like, well, this is the best we can do. We should just suck it up. And I'm thinking, I just really don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I get the right house in the right place and that I feel really good about it. And that, yeah, there's a lot that's going to be hard, but I don't need to make it harder on myself. So those are things I'm thinking about today. I'm thinking about this house that sold and if it's a comp for my house, kind of. And I'm thinking about the Midnight Library and the choices we make. Now, today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. I'm going to work on a couple projects. I'll check in about those. I think they'll be the bathroom, dealing with the tile in the guest bathroom and finishing painting in the ensuite and doing painting in the guest bathroom and just kind of cleaning it out. And then I think I'm going to get to the living room. And that's going to be really hard because each of the rooms that I pack up feels less and less like this is my house. And I guess that's kind of the point, right? You just depersonalize it and it feels less like your home. And the living room is a place I spend a lot of time. I mean, so far the things I've done all the bedrooms and downstairs, and I've just shut those doors because I'm not in there. They're guest rooms. And now I'm like, oh, I'm going to do the living room, and I spend a lot of time in there. I'm there in there every night, and I'm going to have to pack up like all the things that are like the things I love in order for it to look more Airbnb for when people come through it. So I'll check back in a couple days and put some pictures and show you where we're at with that. But that's today.